everyone, I'm Alex from Republika FM1 and welcome to FM1 Spotlight. Today you're going to dive deeper into the world of future funk and vaporwave if you don't already know what that is. Our guest is a producer and internet sensation who will keep your love for disco and groove alive. Please welcome Young Day. Hey, Young.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good. Welcome to FM1 Spotlight. Thank you so much for your time. How are you, first of all?
I'm good. Just chugging through the week, busy week, but I'm excited for everything opening up again. Super excited.
I know. First off, like when I heard your name, it's really interesting. Like I thought, was I expecting someone who looks Korean? I mean, you can't help but get that.
I get
right?
that a lot.
I'm sure. So is there an interesting story behind this? And if there is, please share it with us.
Not really. It was just kind of like the timing of everything. And it was kind of when like internet genres were becoming more like prevalent online, or like gaining traction, like when Young Lean was kind of doing its thing and around that time. And I think Bay was just like a word at the time. And I was like, hey, that sounds pretty cute. And then fast forward, I'm like, oh wait, this is quite actually like a popular legal name. I was like, oh, like, wow. And but I've just kind of stuck with it. I was like, it always sounded pretty cute. And
I gotta say, it's working for you, right?
It's
working pretty well.
Thankfully.
Thankfully, good decision on your part. Now, I know you have 6 albums already and like several EPs, which begs the question, how young were you when you started out in music? 5, 6?
Gosh, I wish. I'm like, sheesh, I would have had more in the vault ready to go. Like, dang. No, I started doing piano like when I was 11 or 12 for a couple of years. And I was like, this is dumb. I was like, this is boring. I'm never going to use this again. And then fast forward to when I was like 17, 18-ish, like right after high school was when I kind of just started like screwing around with music in Ableton and just kind of did it as a hobby. And then it just kind of slowly turned into my job. Yeah, I wish I had more. I should have taken piano lessons longer. Like that would have been great.
I know, I feel you. I took piano lessons myself. I don't use it anymore. So I completely understand you.
Right? I'm like, this is up there with math. I'm like, I don't
know. Does it work? But hopefully you get to use it in the future. So you said you started piano 11, 12. Was this something that your parents wanted for you? Was either your dad or your mom musically inclined somewhat?
It was more, I think they just picked like kind of an activity for us to have some structure, some extracurricular kind of situation. And I think from that, and plus my dad has always really loved piano and just kind of like has played casually and taken lessons, just like, but nothing like professional or formal or like, anything like I would be doing right now in this industry. So yeah, it was just all kind of, I think it was just a hobby at that point.
Well, thankfully to your dad, because now you have a full-blown career. I mean, you made passion into profession, right? Making money.
Seriously, I'm like, he won't let me forget that.
It's credit to dad. Yeah, never.
I'm like, he has quite literally asked for album credits. I'm like, Dad, don't push your luck.
Oh, you should. You should. That'd be like the greatest dad gift you could ever give.
I know. I think I have my mom in there too. I'm like, shout out to her for putting up with me. I put my cat on there too. Like Alvin will be on there.
Your cat. Wait, you don't have a corgi? There's no corgi in the picture?
No, I know. No. I want to get one so bad. We actually borrow my creative director's like friend's corgi that they, I guess, like used to house sit, and then it just turned out to be like this corgi that's been in like commercials and like is really well trained and can do tricks and everything.
I knew there was something with that corgi. He was just commercial ready.
Right? I'm like, come on. I'm like, the cats are not bringing anything in. I'm like, they could step up.
They're just really just nonchalant and leave me alone.
Right? I'm like, they're giving me the side eye right now. They're like,
But thankfully, you didn't leave music alone. I know 80s is a big kind of influence in your music. So have you always been a music fan of the 80s music growing up? Or is that something you discovered along the way?
It was definitely one of those things where it's like I'd always heard it growing up, like I'd heard, Earth, Wind, Fire, or just any of this other kind of like very commercial, like disco. Yeah, like classic, like wedding type stuff. And I was always like, wow, I like this. And like the elements of it. Like I always love the strings, like especially the bass lines and just like the emphasis on that. I don't know. And it's like a lot of people just surface level don't like disco because they think it's such, they think there's these corny elements, but it's like you just look at the rest of music as well. And it all is kind of like you can see it sprinkled throughout there and all this. It's just, a little newer and a little fresher take on it. But that's what I love about it too, is it was the same for me where I was like, I didn't know I loved it until I heard it, and really put it in context.
And I love that, what you just said. You didn't know that you would love it until you heard it. So thank God you're still putting disco music into this era, because that era is timeless and you're making it modern, right?
That's the best. I'm like, we love disco.
Thank God for you. Now, I know Bad Boy, it was a tremendous hit. And then you got Wiz Khalifa and Max to get on the remix. How did that come about?
It was just all pretty organic. With Max, I've just known Max for years now, and I was just like, what's up, dude? I'm like, yeah, it's pretty slow Thursday, can you cut this verse?
Get on the track.
Yeah, I was like, dude, what are you doing? I'm like, yeah, you have nothing else going on. I was like, yeah. And then with Wiz, it was that one. I believe it was, we had the same lawyer.
No way.
And we were just
insane.
like, we were like, yo, dude, we're kind of looking for someone for the Bad Boy remix, but we don't know who. And he was like, yo, let me ask Wiz if he likes the track. And then Wiz was like, yo, this is great. And then cut his verse quick and it was ready to go. It was, so it was like a really quick process too. And I think we did most of it, almost all of it completely remote as well. Just because it was so like fresh with lockdown and everything. So it was, it was cool to like work remote with some of these bigger dudes. And I was like, wow, they still can work like that. And we don't all have to be in the same room. It's a great
remix. Like usually remixes are quite different from the original song and not as good as the original. I do love the original. And I think the remix is like, it holds its own in it. Bad Boy Forever Goes Down. But I do know you have a new single right now. It's called Silver and Gold, which I love, by the way. It has that very earworm infectious melody. But please tell us more about this. And I know it has more of a radio feel to it, more than a disco, would you say? And are you leading into that direction?
It's like I've heard people say that I'm kind of like leaning into pop, but I'm kind of just trying to make it like, again, it's like that idea of the old and the new is like, how can I take my sound and still remain like sonically true to myself and what I've been doing over the years, but how can I take that and push it to a more commercial level and introduce these people to this, because it's almost like you kind of have to do some of that to get them invested and be like, oh, we're going to hook you right now. Like, oh yeah. They're like, oh, that'll turn heads. So it's kind of one of those things. And plus it's everything I'm putting out now too, is like genuinely music I believe in and like had fun making and love, it's it's either way. I'm like, I'm having fun. And that's all that matters to me. I'm like, and my mom loves it. Oh,
well, when you get the approval of mom, it's good. And,
right. I was like,
thank you. But good for you. You're still doing what you love, despite what people are saying that, it's not disco, it's not radio. All in all, it's still a great song. Now, before I ask you to invite everyone to listen to your newest single, can you just tell me, would this be something, that you'd be interested in? Because there are a number of great Filipino 80s disco hits. Would that be something you'd be interested to put in your music? Maybe a little bit of the beats?
Absolutely. Like, honestly, with samples, I'm like, if it sounds great, I'm like, I want to cut that up. I want to sample that. I want to chop it up, anything.
I'll send you a list.
Oh, please, honestly, because I'm like looking for any rare disco always.
Oh my gosh, I'm excited. I'm really going to send you the list. I'm
like,
serious.
please. I'm genuinely, I'm like, that stuff is hard to find even on YouTube.
All right. Well, there you go. Thank you so much, Young Bae, for chatting us with here on FM1 Spotlight. Please invite everyone to listen to your latest single, Silver and Gold.
Hey, this is Young Bae. Please check out my new single, Silver and Gold. Hope you all enjoy.
Thank you. Now, Bad Boy, Revolving, and Woman on the Moon are also other tracks that you should listen to. That was Young Bae keeping the disco and fever alive, and we're grateful to him for doing so. This has been Alex for FM1 Spotlight. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you all on air.
Shout out to Team Manila, available online through dailygrindstore.com, Team Manila Shopee, and Lazada stores. Microphones on and cameras set. We've heard their sound, and now it's time for us to ask around. FM1 Spotlight on Republika, exclusively on FM1.